and Jan van Niekerk will give this presentation. Jan is our portfolio manager for disease management. Thank you, Jan.
Okay, thank you, Hannes. Okay. Good, yeah, so good. And I'm very happy to see that there's so many people actually listening to us this afternoon. And I hope to share some good news with you this afternoon regarding Phytophthora brown rot control. I think as many as you might be aware that in South Africa, Phytophthora brown rot is mainly caused by Phytophthora nicotianae. It occurs in the orchard on low-hanging fruit, or it can also then during past harvest come out and manifest during transit. And if it occurs during transit, it could lead to secondary decay caused by penicillium or even sour rot latent infections. So the motivation for the work that we did here in Stellenbosch was to, on the pre-harvest level, management of Phytophthora brown rot is reliant on fungicide sprays, correctly timed fungicide sprays using phosphonates or contact fungicides such as copper or mancozeb. But the big thing was that to date, no fungicides were registered in South Africa for the post-harvest control of this disease on citrus. So our aim was to evaluate the efficacy of fludeoxanil and azoxystrobin, two of the ones that you've already heard about this afternoon, for the post-harvest management of Phytophthora brown rot. So again, similar to what Charles and Linda spoke about, we looked at curative and protective action of the fungicides, meaning that curative action is to inoculate the fruit with the pathogen, therefore make it sick or make it rot, then treat the fruit with the fungicide at different time points, and the time points we used was 6, 12, 24, and 48 hours after inoculation. Therefore, the disease was already, or the pathogen was already established in the fruit by the time we did the fungicide treatment. Protective treatment, on the other side, or ability, is when you treat the fruit with the fungicides and then you do the inoculation of the fruit. And here we did it 6, 12, 24, and 48 hours after treatment. And in all our trials, we rated the fruit 5 to 7 days after inoculation, and we did the incubation at 29 degrees Celsius. We repeated all our trials on lemons, oranges, and mandarins. So if we look at the results on lemons, we see that again, on the vertical axis, we give the percentage brown rot, and on the horizontal axis is the two fungicides, azoxystrobin and fludeoxanil, and the left-hand side is the curative, and the right-hand side is the protective. And what we see here is that azoxystrobin gave us very good curative ability up to 12 hours after inoculation. 24 hours was also good, but not as good as the 6 and 12 hours. And then at 48 hours, compared to the control in red, the curative control of azoxystrobin wasn't that good. Fludeoxanil, very much the same picture, very good up until 12 hours. At 24 hours, a slight drop-off and in level of control achieved. And then also at 48 hours, not very good curative control. Shifting over to lemons and the protective action, here we see azoxystrobin compared to the control in red. That was untreated control. Azoxystrobin giving very good protection against Phytophthora nicotianae infection up until 48 hours after treatment. Fludeoxanil, unfortunately, in this case, didn't perform that well. So moving on, results on oranges, again, very much the same as on lemons. Azoxystrobin curative, very good up until 12 hours, 24 hours still sort of okay. 48 again, not good. Same with fludeoxanil, good curative, good curative up until 12 hours after inoculation, 24 hours and 48 hours, not good. And then looking at protective control of azoxystrobin, again, very good protective control up to 48 hours after treatment, and again, fludeoxanil not performing that well in terms of protective control on the oranges. Then moving on to mandarins. Here the picture looks slightly different, but again, the trend is the same, azoxystrobin and fludarabine, good protective control, curative control, excuse me, up until 12 hours after treatment. 24, again, a little bit of a loss in control, and 48 hours, also not good. Protective, again, azoxystrobin on mandarins giving very good protective control up until 48 hours after treatment. Fludarabine, not good, again, unfortunately. So in conclusion, we can say on lemons and oranges, the curative control obtained by azoxystrobin and fludarabine was very good, up to 12 hours after inoculation, and it was still acceptable up to 24 hours after inoculation. However, on mandarins, only azoxystrobin provided good control up to 12 hours, but at 24 and 48 hours, the control was poor. In terms of protective control, azoxystrobin provided consistent protection or control up to 48 hours after fungicide treatment. And based on these results, both these fungicides are in the process of being registered for brown rot control on citrus. So if we look at recommendations for brown rot control as it currently stands, it's very much the same as Catherine just highlighted for sour rot control, that pre-harvest, we use fungicides, although for sour rot we don't use fungicides, but in the case of brown rot, we use phosphonates that we can spray 2 to 3 weeks before harvest, and we've got a 14-day pre-harvest interval there. Unfortunately, on some mandarins, phosphonates cannot be applied once fruit are at full color because that causes phytotoxic damage on the fruit. There you could have copper oxychloride applications 3 weeks before harvest, and here again you have a 14-day pre-harvest interval. Mancozeb can also be applied 3 weeks before harvest. The only problem with mancozeb is that there's specific requirements for specific markets with regards to this fungicide. So if you were to use this for brown rot control pre-harvest, just be careful when you do it and how you time it. At harvest, do not pick fruit that have visual brown rot symptoms, that's hanging in the tree. And again, do not pick fruit in the bottom 1 meter of the canopy, because these are traditionally the fruit that gets infected with the Phytophthora splashing up from the orchard surface. And then post-harvest, based on the presented results, once these two fungicides, azoxystrobin and fludarabine, are registered, it looks like, based on our results, that if fruit are suspected to be infected with Phytophthora nicotianae, you must apply azoxystrobin or fludarabine within 24 hours after a suspected infection in the orchard. Infection could occur during rain periods with optimal temperatures, and in order to protect fruit against possible brown rot infection during transit, also treat fruit with azoxystrobin. And then lastly, just thank you to all the following people for funding and the facilities and the technical assistance. Thank you very much.